So as you can see, we only have one microphone for the whole Liège lab. So I'm Bruno Dupont from the Liège lab as well. What I can say about myself, just a few words. So I'm working at the University of Liège and at the Haute École de la Ville de Liège at the same time, and mostly on the relationship between literature and video games. But I'm not going to speak about it because we have another topic today. I'm just going to say the title of our conclusion, and then I will leave the floor to Pierre-Yves, and he's going to introduce himself. So the title is The Sportive Challenge of Replaying the Conference, a Search for Nuance. Pierre-Yves?
Thank you, Bruno. So my name is Pierre-Yves Houlmont. I'm an assistant at the University of Liège. I'm also a member of the Liège lab. I'm studying, well, the subject of my PhD is video game translation. And well, I'm going to begin with the conclusion of this conference. So first of all, we would like to say that we are honored and deeply grateful to have had the opportunity to host Replaying Japan 2020. Thanks to all the participants in this conference who have shown great scientific rigor and adaptability with regard to the format of their presentations. Of course, we would like to thank our sponsors, without whom the organization of this conference would have been much more complicated. The Japan Foundation, the FNRS, the Faculty of Philosophy and Letters at the University of Liège, and the Research Unit Trials. And last but not least, our sincere thanks to our research assistants.
Sorry, they are saying that they don't hear the sound very loud.
Okay.
In Discord, could you maybe turn up your sound a little bit?
So we can do that.
And Bruno, are you sure that your microphone is off in your
Okay,
computer?
is it better now?
Yes, I think so.
Do I?
Maybe yes,
Okay.
please. Sorry.
So, what would be conclusions without technical problems? So, I'm gonna, let me introduce myself then, once again. My name is Pierre-Yves Houlmont, I'm a member of the Liège lab, and I'm an assistant for German language at the University of Liège. I'm studying in the course of my PhD, video game translation. And now I'm going to begin with our conclusion. First of all, we would like to say that we are honored and deeply grateful to have had the opportunity to host Replaying Japan 2020. Thanks also to all the participants in this conference, who have shown great scientific rigor and adaptability with regard to the format of their presentations. Of course, we would like to thank our sponsors, without whom the organization of this conference would have been much more complicated. The Japan Foundation, the FNRS, the Faculty of Philosophy and Letters at the University of Liège, and the Research Unit Trials. Last but not least, our sincere thanks to our research assistants. Research assistants are a long tradition in the Liège lab, but it is the first time that we have had to hire so many video game enthusiastic students for such an important event. They worked hard as a team and brilliantly supported Replaying Japan under the first-class supervision of Fanny Barnabé, to whom we would like to express our final thanks. All these happy thoughts should not let us forget about the difficulty of organizing scientific and social events under the current COVID-19 pandemic. Indeed, setting up this conference has not been easy, far from this. We had no other sound choice than organizing it online in a global context that is complicated, to say the least. At first, we were a little concerned. A conference, which is first and foremost a social event dedicated to scientific discussions and networking, that would be organized fully online, well, it sounded tricky and put into question the very sense of our activity. But today, we think that we can all agree, we think that we can all agree that Replaying Japan 2020 is a success, from a social as well as from a scientific point of view. The success is primarily due to the quality of the individual and collective presentations. Such a quality is rare when there are so many participants and panels at a conference. But secondly, and maybe even more, because of the scope, the acuteness, and the constructive character of the discussions around and after the presentations. In both cases, the credit is all yours, of course. Our only task today in this respect begins now. We'll try to say a few concluding words about the intense, playful, and engaging 4 days that are ending at this very moment. These words are not meant as a summary. This would be impossible then, without being oversimplistic. We'll rather make our best to highlight the links between the numerous talks. The goal is to sketch the new questions, research leads, and maybe collaboration opportunities that arise from this intellectually and socially enriching conference. And we think that the scientific emulation we have witnessed in recent days have only been possible because of the incredible disciplinary, methodological, and cultural variety that the participants, the audience, and the scientific community have embraced. However, as far as we are concerned, as enriching as this diversity is, it makes our test a little bit more challenging.
Bruno, pass the mic. So, a few words about esports and about numerous other topics, as you will see. So, despite this topical and scientific diversity, we think that a common denominator is still possible to identify, or we're going to try to do so. To begin our reflection, what is then better than coming back to the title of this year's conference, Replaying Japan Ludolympics 2020. Although not obligatorily, this topic invited you to reflect about the relationship between video gaming and sport, with esports as the most prominent example of it. When we hear that word, esport, besides the fact that it consists of electronic sport and not always digital sport, as Florent Gorge reminded us in the first keynote address, the first thing that would come to mind is usually an economical perspective. Indeed, some of the subjects of this conference reflect a significant economic interest. This was firstly underlined by the communications about the history, development, and perspectives of esports. But outside this competitive play, in this codified sense, the concept of economy, or rather of diverse kinds of economies, has proven productive for our research topics. Indeed, Japan, as a local market, has seen some interesting developments. From its beginning in the 70s, with arcades that we know today, to what we know today, sorry, Japanese video game environment has undergone many transformations. However, as we have seen in some presentations, reducing Japanese video games to their local market seems overly simplistic. Japanese video games have an international and global importance, and non-Japanese games can rely heavily on the Japanese market, as we saw through the example of Asia Lane, for example. Some even went further, and so we saw the term global appear, which for a short period of time seemed to link the two apparently dichotomous or trichotomous, I don't know, notions in a more accurate way. And here is an example where the variety of disciplinary approaches in this conference made magic. It brought nuance. The conceptual tools for analyzing video games are numerous today. Some are native to the game studies. Some were fruitfully imported from other contexts. We think that this testifies to the maturity of this field. But as major as it is, it still needs nuance. Nuance that events like Replaying Japan can offer. Coming back to the term local, it seemed to be too narrow and too limiting. So the term transinsularity appeared in one of the presentations. This concept is naturally not yet perfect, but brings nuance, as we say, to overly binary reading grades. Nuance, we think, is one of the great strengths of Replaying Japan 2020. Given the topics, the presentations could have easily been deprived of it. But no matter how complicated the subject was, participants managed to bring about sharp observations that refine their conceptual tools. If we look at the tricky concepts that emerged from the various presentations and which were treated in a precise and skillful manner, we can notice that they are numerous. We must point out that this search for precision was a methodological impulse, data-driven, user-based, theoretically demanding research topics were particularly represented among the presentations. A lot of concepts seem to be opposite in a binary manner. For example, capitalistic financial oppression and free co-creation of the works on the other hand, spatial strategies by the publishers, temporal tactics by the players, elegant, we had the word in a presentation, play by the rules and goal-oriented détournement, world religion versus eclectic religion, player and developer ethic on one hand, dark play and promotional reports on the other hand, heroes and enemies, virtuality and reality, or in other contexts, textuality and hermeneutics, and many others. And it's only thanks to the scientific variety that we have witnessed the few last days that nuance is possible. But speaking about nuances is always difficult because the language is sometimes fuzzy or incomplete. The very purpose of conferences like this is in fact to articulate those nuances. To do so, different strategies have been employed. There are in fact two major ways of delimiting nuances, and both are based on language. It can, for instance, be a matter of terminology. In this case, one searches for the right word among the scholarly tradition, the history of gaming, or the recent social-political debates to strive for the greatest possible accuracy. For that, we have seen some different interesting examples. I'm going to cite some: transinsularity, of course, feminine sublime, eclectic religion, dynamism, transmedia universe, and so on. Or sometimes, when existing concepts fail to represent our scientific reality, we need new ones, and researchers opt for neologism. Neologism enables us to aim for an in-between that is not yet available in our language. Such neologism would be shelter box, queer or camp sublime, character intimacy game, or on a conceptual level, the development of new heuristics, which are also bits of language for classifying video games. During this conference, a recurring debate was on the notion of Japanese-ness in our corpuses when considered as a whole. If these concepts exist, then it is situated somewhere in an in-between, the third place, which corresponds to the tiny but elastic space of the nuance, or better say, of a network of intricate nuances. But how do you put the finger on these nuances? First of all, thanks to a high degree of specialization, which, given the level of the presentation, has been undoubtedly achieved. But also, like we said earlier, thanks to interdisciplinarity. To paraphrase Hart and Negri in a less political sense, it takes a network of people to catch a network of significations. And I will let Pierre-Yves concluding the conclusion.
Thank you, Bruno. And now, so we are getting to the conclusion of our conclusions. At some point, we heard about the Daigo Paris event. Whereas the fight between Daigo Umeda and Justin Young was considered as a confrontation between USA and Japan, we think this very conference can be considered as a moment of formidable unity that will strengthen international science. Despite thousands of kilometers and pretty hard to articulate time zones, we managed to gather around a common theme, show great scientific innovation and incredible complementarity. We can all be proud of our achievement and consider it a success. And if I may quote a line from the presentation in Daigo on the Daigo event. One of the reasons behind the success of this moment lies in its unexpectedness. And we believe that we are in a similar situation. Replaying Japan, happening entirely online and still being a place of sharing and human relationship forging, was unexpected. We hope this event will become part and parcel of our cross-cultural scientific narrative as a highlight of international science and a sign that crises do not stop us from making scientific advances. And anyway, even though Replaying Japan took place online does not mean we were not there. Indeed, as we have seen during the presentation of Susan and Tesla, people do tourism virtually. They discover places in their whole potentiality. You visited Liège in Minecraft. Maybe it means that we were really there in a way. Our sincere thanks to all the keynotes, participants, and also to the audience. It could not have happened without all of you. And a few last words. We do not know yet where the next edition of Replaying Japan is going to take place, but we are already looking forward to seeing what it will have to offer, and are convinced that, once again, it will bring the nuance that is so crucial to science. We wish you all the best. Thank you.